Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Trey, and let's talk about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Because I went to go see it with my mother, and we quite literally enjoyed it. She always says that the animated Spider-Man movie is completely better than the MCU Spider-Man movies that she went to go see. I'm sorry, Tom Holland, you're number 4 in her spot. Number 1 would be Tobey Maguire for her. Number 2 is Miles Morales. And then number 3 is Andrew Garfield, and then Tom Holland, Spider-Man, is at the bottom. Sorry, not sorry. That's just how she feels about it, and that's kind of how I feel about it too. It's kind of sad, but when Sony Spider-Man projects are doing a little bit better than the MCU one, it's kind of like, wow. And I know people were like, oh, Spider-Man, the MCU Spider-Man, but let's be honest, the only reason why that even kind of did well is because it was Spider-Man interacting with the MCU characters, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, Amazing Spider-Man 2 had, Sony had terrible executives at the time, but then when they realized, hey, maybe if we stop rushing things and just tell movies and just tell stories in the Spider-Man universe, we can get some money and stuff like that. Is every movie that Sony do is perfect? No, but their animation movies are pretty good, you know what I mean? So I think if Sony keeps this up, they'll create, well, they are creating something amazing right now with the animation movies. And I know how some people were like, oh my god, Miles Morales is in the Spider-Man, he's just Miles Morales, he'll never replace Spider-Man. But I always tell people, you look at it like how DC did Jay Garrett, Alan Scott, and then what happened? They replaced them with Barry Allen and Hal Jordan. And Hal Jordan and Barry Allen was replaced with Kyle Rayner and Wally West. You kind of have to look at it like that, because it's just a new generation. Nobody's not saying that those characters don't still exist, but for the generation, this is their Spider-Man and stuff like that. And honestly, I appreciate Miles Morales, because he's a teenage Spider-Man. You know, he's a teenage Spider-Man. He's different from Peter Parker. And what I want Marvel to do is use the fact that you have a teenage Spider-Man and let Peter Parker finally grow up and become for real Spider-Man, where he actually is an adult. He has a family. He's married with Mary Jane. That's what I want to see. And I feel like now that you have Miles, and it just shows that it's proven that you can still have a teenage Spider-Man, still do the young, youthful things, just do it with Miles Morales, and then just elevate Peter into adulthood that people actually want him to see. That's what I want to see, and I think that's a good legacy representation of what Miles is doing. Is he's a legacy of Peter Parker. He's learning, he's growing, but he's growing in today's time, while Peter wasn't growing up in today's time. He was growing up in the past. But, I mean, in the past of, you know, the 80s and the 90s. But now you got Miles, who is like the new generation. I respect that, because it's not like, oh, it's not like they're doing what they're doing with the Little Mermaid movie, where, oh, Peter Parker is all of a sudden black in this movie, and we're going to call him Peter Parker, and he's Spider-Man. You get what I'm saying? So I respect that more so than, oh, I respect what Marvel has done, where they had, oh, look, we have Miles Morales being Spider-Man. Yes, he's Latino, but he's also a Spider-Man character. But he's not there to replace Peter Parker, and he's not there to be Peter Parker, if that makes sense. That's what I respect more from them, is that the fact that you have a black Spider-Man character that's not a black version of Peter Parker, even though people really like to say Peter Darker. But then it's just like, if you're watching the movies, you're playing the video games, and if you read the comic books, you know Miles is nowhere close to Peter Parker at all. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, the Spider-Man's Across the Spider-Verse movie, the animation is spectacular. No matter what dimension you go in, I just don't even understand. On a budget of 100 million, I'm trying to figure out, like, I'm sorry, the way the animation is working in that movie, it looks more than $100 million. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not saying that the budget ain't lying, but bravo to the Sony animation studio, because to take that many different styles, and there are different styles for the moods, for the universes, like even characters that pop outside of their universes, they have such a unique, vibrant animation quality, and it's so cool that they're able to blend it in. It's just like, holy shit, you know what I'm saying? And I have to give credit to Sony Animation. It makes you wish Disney could go back and do something like that, because Disney used to do that. That's what Disney was great at. Now Disney is kind of like, whatever, we don't really care, we're just doing whatever we want to do, and it just kind of sucks, because you know that Disney was better than this. You know what I mean? Old Disney would have been able to do this, and it would have been celebrated. But I also noticed another thing too, while I'm talking about this movie, is I noticed there was more showings for The Little Mermaid in a lot of the theaters around my block. So it was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, just 2D. Apparently some people said it was 3D. I didn't know it was 3D. But I will say that there was more showings for The Little Mermaid 2D and 3D version of that movie. Way more showings than Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which means to tell me that what's happening is Disney is trying to purposely elevate The Little Mermaid over Miles Morales. But it also goes back to the fact, because right now it's doing, Across the Spider-Verse is doing amazing right about now. So that means that whole narrative of everyone is racist and people hate blacks and minority characters or whatever, that's a lie, because people are going to see Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So it's more about telling a good story. That's what it is. And let's be honest, The Little Mermaid was a sloppy second. That's just the truth. People don't want to admit it, but the truth of the matter is, the reason why The Little Mermaid movie is doing terribly is because it's a sloppy second. It's a race swap of a classic white character, and the movie's just not good. While Across the Spider-Verse, there's so many things in the movie. There's so many Easter eggs and callbacks to other Spider-Man shows and movies. You just would love it. So it's a three-way story going on here. Of course, the major villain is Spot, right? But the major antagonist in this movie is Miguel O'Hara and Jessica Drew. I would really say that it's not a good showing for Miguel O'Hara or Jessica Drew. And I'm not saying that they weren't good, but what I'm saying is, people who come across Spider-Man 2099 and race swap Jessica Drew, you're going to be like, wow, there are some jackasses. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of even funny, because some people are labeling Miguel O'Hara as Vampire Spider-Man. Like, what? No, he's not Vampire Spider-Man. He's not even a vampire. Like, no. But the reason why I'm saying it, because if it's the first time you ever seen 2099 and Jessica Drew, the second Spider-Woman, it's kind of like one of those, for me as a comic book fan, I'm like, this is totally not their personality. Like, I get their motivation, but at the same time, it's just like, as a first time viewer, I would be like, wow, these two spider people are some jackasses. And it's still stupid that you had Jessica Drew, moronic ass, riding a fucking motorcycle, 7 months pregnant. Bitch, stop. And I noticed how they had people trying not to hit her because of the fact that she's pregnant. Yes, because she's pregnant. Like, even Miles Morales, when he was fighting her in the movie and stuff like that, he tried his best to, like, contain her where she wouldn't get hurt because of the fact that she's pregnant. Like, common sense would say, hey, let's not, put in pregnant Jessica Drew. You know what I'm saying? But let me get back to the 3 stories. So you have the Gwen Stacy Spider-Gwen story. You have the Miles Morales story, which is still your major focus, and you have the Miguel O'Hara storyline. And again, that's not even really Miguel O'Hara. I don't even know what the fuck. Like they came up with some nonsense to try to make you understand his motivations. But again, me as a comic book fan realized like that's not even Miguel O'Hara anyway. But I understand. But those who like to bash on Miles Morales is going to have a hoot with Spider-Man 2099, because 2099 goes in on Miles Morales, and it's just kind of funny, like everything that people criticize Miles for being or whatever and stuff like that is exactly what 2099 doing. So it's like a sort of meta commentary, but it still works to the fact of it. It's just like, okay, he's still Spider-Man though, you know what I'm saying? And it's funny, like you got all these other Spider characters, and you point out to Miles Morales that he's the problem out of all of the alternate reality Spider characters, you know what I'm saying? And Peter B. Parker, he returns, and he's stupid. He's stupid. You know, he finally got back with Mary Jane. That's great and all, but now he's in a pink. What's the other thing? House coat with pink slippers, and he want to introduce everybody to his baby, Mayday. Like, get out of here! Stop it! Like, why is she here? You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those. It's one of those kind of like, it's done for stupidity problem. And then Scarlet Spider-Man was there, and he was like, he was that depressed 90s kind of thing where they were like, it was a commentary on how they were really trying to make Scarlet Spider during the 90s so edgy and so emo and depressed and shit like that. And you just be like, boy, shut the hell up. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those kind of like little funny little things or whatever. And of course you have Miles, who's the center focus of like the fact that he's Spider-Man, but he's keeping the secret from his parents. His parents know that he's lying, but he's not willing to tell them what's going on. And he's trying to balance out his life as Spider-Man, missing the fact that he missed Gwen and the other Spider characters, because he feels like after they left, you know, he felt like they were abandoned. And then Gwen shows up, and she was like, oh, I'm part of this elite Spider crew thing, and everybody's involved except for Miles Morales. Like, I don't know what you're trying to say about that, Sony, but you know, that was kind of disrespectful. But again, he's going through teenage angst. He wants to study quantum physics because he's been inspired by all the events that happened from the first movie, that he decided that he want not to be an artist, but to be a quantum physics person. Gwen is going through her stress of being alone, and after the death of Peter Parker, she found somebody that was interested in Miles, but then returning home, she just feels like she's back to square one again. So you have a story of both of these characters being lonely and dealing with the fact that they have family that they can't reveal their secrets to, which put pressure on them. But with Gwen, it's more like nobody in her universe can understand because of the fact that she's wanted in her universe, while Miles is praised in his universe, but he feels like he's alone after, you know, meeting so many other Spider people who can understand that he's a Spider character. You know, I was a little disappointed that Genki didn't have more to do in this movie, besides like little line shots and playing Spider-Man Miles Morales on the TV thing. That was a little fun. But the callbacks to a lot of the shows and movies from Spider-Man was awesome, and some of the Spider characters that they showed was completely stupid. That stupid Sun Spider showed up. Like, bitch, get out of here. You're stupid. Get out of here. The Spider T-Rex showed up. I thought that was dumb too. The Spider-Man on a fucking horse was dumb as well. Like, it was just one of those things. But then was even cuter when they had this Lego Spider-Man moment that was like really fun or whatever. And I love the little shot at the MCU, be like that little Spider-Man and Doctor Strange from Earth 19999. What's Earth 1999? Doctor Strange, what is that? Like he was explaining that to Gwen while she's trying to like stop this medieval cyberpunk kind of Vulture. Oh, the animation for Vulture was freaking amazing, because you can tell that he doesn't belong in that universe from the way they did everything. But again, I don't want to spoil everything. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I do know it ends on a cliffhanger where Miles is trapped in the wrong universe after he was trying to make it back to his universe after discovering some terrible news. So I would say overall, it's a good movie. Is it better than the first one? I don't think it's better than the first one, but it's a good, entertaining movie. It's good on repeat viewing, because you can kind of notice the other Spider characters, because everything was going so fast that your eyes can only focus on so many things. And I feel like if you're a Spider-Man fan, you would love to go back and just keep seeing like the cameos and the Easter eggs that they're dropping, because they were dropping so many hints and stuff like that. And there was even a callback to the MCU deleted scene for Homecoming. If you know, you know. But yeah, I say it's a good solid 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it. It just makes me enjoy the character Miles Morales even more. That I feel like, wow, this is a good secondary Spider-Man to Peter Parker. You know what I mean? That's just my personal opinion. I know how people be like, whoa, Miles Morales isn't. Well, he is Spider-Man. Like, you know, come on now. Miles went through the hero journey. He didn't just come out of nowhere and then they shoehorned him in everything like they did with like Miss Marvel and characters in the all new, all different era, where because Miles Morales was such a success, they were like, okay, well, we can do it with every other character. That's why those characters failed and why Miles succeeded, is because, yes, for the evil intent, you know, when we got a black president, Brian Michael Bendis created Miles and was like, well, you know, now that we got a black president, wouldn't it be cool to have a black Spider-Man? And he did it in the Ultimate Universe. And, you know, for a good time, Miles was doing very well. He went through the hero's journey. He was 13 years old when he got bitten by the spider. He didn't know if he wanted to be Spider-Man because he had those powers. Then he saw Peter die and he felt guilty about it. But then he realized that, you know, if you have the power to do good, you can't just stand around and not do good. So he becomes that universe Spider-Man. He's always living up to the legacy of Spider-Man, and he always wonders what will Peter do, or if he's good enough to be Spider-Man, or is Peter proud of him for being Spider-Man? You know what I'm saying? So he goes through all of that, and then, you know, while all the other Ultimate comic books are canceled, Miles Morales comic books are still selling, so they can still keep him on. Then the Secret War happened, and then they moved him to the main continuity, and, you know, some of the writers that got on him just kind of like, ugh, you know what I mean? When they started giving him some of his knockoff, I mean, like, they took Peter's storylines that we really didn't like and gave it to Miles Morales and was like, oh, we're going to twist them. For what? We didn't like the damn stories to begin with Peter. What makes you think we like it with Miles? You know what I'm saying? But after that, once you get past all of that nonsense and that stupid ass costume change that he had, and you go and you read his recent comic book run, it's pretty good. He got an original villain that's coming after him. He got like, he's being trained by Misty Knight, you know what I'm saying? And he's like caring about his family. His family knows that he's Spider-Man. It's pretty interesting. It's a real interesting character. I know some people are like, oh, I just wish he has his own name. Well, he doesn't. His code name is Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? As much as I know you guys wish it was another name, but it's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, if we can live with multiple Flashes, if we can live with multiple Green Lanterns, I think we can live with another Spider-Man character. You get what I'm saying? Especially one that's, you can tell this is a new generational Spider-Man. You get what I'm saying? So I respect Sony with this movie, and I respect Miles Morales even further with this movie. I just say it's good fun. Go in there and have a good time. Don't worry about watching The Little Mermaid because it sucks anyway. But if you want a good Spider-Man movie, something entertaining, nothing that's preachy or anything, I say go and watch Across the Spider-Verse. I'm just mad that we have to wait until 2024 for Beyond the Spider-Verse, which I already knew this was a part one of a movie anyway, but still, you like, damn, you know what I mean? But other than that, like I said, the movie's pretty good. I say go and watch it, but I'm not going to reveal anything else. I'm sorry this went on a little bit longer. You guys know how I like to ramble, rant, and talk when I'm talking about it. But like I said, go see Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Get you a cleansing pass. Oh, and if you guys go to AMC, they got Spider-Man buckets. Like, they got the Miles Morales one and they got the Gwen one. I got the Miles Morales one because I wasn't about to eat out of no damn Gwen Stacy head. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.